The man had chosen solitude so completely that even the land seemed to forget him. His cabin stood where the prairie sloped into a shallow valley, a place of wind and grass and sky that changed colors with the hours. For years he lived there alone, a widower by circumstance and a hermit by choice, surviving on hunted game, dried corn, and the slow discipline of routine. He spoke rarely, and when he did, it was to his horse or to the quiet itself. People passing through called him stubborn, broken, or strange. He preferred the word finished. Life, as he had known it, had already taken what it wanted from him. He rose before dawn each day, fed the horse, checked the traps, repaired whatever the weather had tried to undo. He read the same worn book by firelight at night, not because the words changed, but because they stayed the same. The world beyond the valley had become a rumor, carried on the wind and ignored. That was how he wanted it, until the evening the girls came. It began with dust on the horizon and a sound he could not place. He reached for his rifle by instinct, then paused, listening. It wasn't the rhythm of hooves charging or the careless laughter of travelers. It was uneven, hurried, frightened. He stepped outside, squinting into the sinking sun, and saw 7 figures moving toward the cabin on foot. They were young, too young to be alone, wrapped in torn blankets, hair loose, faces marked by exhaustion and fear. When they reached the clearing, they stopped as if an invisible line had been drawn. None spoke. One of them, taller than the rest, stepped forward. Her eyes were steady despite the tremor in her hands. "We need shelter," she said in careful English. "Just for the night." He looked at them for a long moment, measuring not threat but truth. He saw blistered feet, scraped knees, the hollowed cheeks of hunger. He saw no weapons. The rifle remained leaning against the doorframe, untouched. "Come inside," he said. They did not rush him. They moved with caution, like people who had learned that sudden kindness could turn cruel without warning. Inside, the cabin was spare but clean. He set water on the stove and broke bread into rough portions. As they ate, he watched without staring, noticing how the youngest clutched her food as if it might vanish, how the oldest kept glancing at the window. They told him little that night, only that they were Comanche, that they had fled something worse than hunger, and that they could not go back. He did not press. When he spread blankets on the floor, they accepted with soft thanks. He took his usual place by the door, listening to the night deepen. Sleep came in fragments. He dreamed of storms and running feet. At dawn, the sound of hooves woke him fully. Not the distant wander of a few horses, but many, circling. The ground itself seemed to hum. He stepped outside slowly, hands open, heart steady in a way that surprised him. On the ridges and in the tall grass stood warriors, hundreds of them, mounted and still, watching. The sun caught their faces, painted shields, the glint of steel. It was not chaos he saw, but order, purpose. The tallest girl joined him at the door. "They came for us," she said. "They will decide what you are." He did not ask what that meant. A rider broke from the circle and approached. He was older, posture straight, eyes sharp with years of command. He dismounted and studied the cabin, the man, the girls. When he spoke, it was in a language the man did not understand, but the tone carried weight. The girl translated. He asked why you took us in. "Because you asked," the man said simply. The elder listened, expression unreadable. He spoke again, longer this time. "He says many would have turned you away. Some would have sold you. Some would have harmed you." "I didn't," the man replied. Silence stretched. Wind moved the grass. Horses shifted their weight. The elder stepped closer. He looked into the man's eyes, searching for something deeper than words. Finally, he nodded once. "He says shelter is sacred," the girl translated. "He says you honored it." The tension did not vanish, but it changed. Warriors dismounted, formed a respectful distance. Fires were lit. The valley filled with low conversation, with the smell of cooking meat. The man realized he was not surrounded by enemies, but by judgment, and that judgment had not gone against him. By midday, the elder returned. He spoke of the girls' journey, of the dangers they had escaped, of the need for protection and belonging. He spoke of a world that took without asking and of laws older than fences. "He says you may go," the girl said at last, "or you may stay. But if you stay, you are not alone anymore." The man looked at his cabin, the place he had hidden from grief, and then at the people who had brought the world back to his door. He thought of the years he had spent surviving instead of living. "I'll stay," he said. The days that followed remade the valley. The warriors did not linger as conquerors, but as guests who left with gratitude. The girls remained, not as burdens, but as life. They learned his routines, improved them, laughed where silence had lived too long. He taught them what he knew. They taught him what he had forgotten. Word traveled, not as rumor, but as respect. Travelers passed again, careful and curious. The cabin became a place of safety spoken of in low voices. The man, once finished, found himself beginning again. Years later, when asked why 7 girls had changed his fate and 700 warriors had spared his life, he would say only this: when fear met kindness, kindness stood its ground, and the world noticed.